Hi, problem solvers. Today's lesson is a review lesson about fractions. And it's Thursday, May 7th. So that's what the assignment will be called, review for May 7th. So our learning targets today are to use number lines and fraction bars to compare fractions and find equivalent fractions and write equivalency chains. So again, we're going to go back to kind of the idea of fractions. We're going to do a little review. We're going to use a couple different resources. You will have some information available to you on the Think Central assignment. But I'm going to use this fraction number line. And I'm also going to use some fraction strips to sort of help us look at equivalence today. Things that are equal. And so you might remember this page from our workbook, and here it is. In fact, if you were, it's just one of the pages that we did some work on. Halves, fourths, and eighths. Says two fractions are equivalent fractions if they're the same part of a whole. So we know that the whole thing is from here to here is 1, and that we break it up into the sections. And then, like we know, if we have a sandwich, we have the whole sandwich, but then there are different ways to cut the sandwich, and some of those ways can be equal. So use your halves, fourths, and eighths strips to complete these exercises. So we're going to use their picture right here. It says, if you compare your half strip and your fourth strip, you can see that 2/4 are the same as 1/2. So here's our half, and our line's right there. It will be a little bit hard to see. So we're going to cover up that right there. And it says, how many fourths equal 1/2? So we have 1/4 and another fourth. So 1/4 plus 1/4 is 2/4. If you don't have scratch paper, today you might not necessarily need as much scratch paper, but it would be good to write some things down. If you have the ability to maybe do some drawings, because you can make circles too. They don't have to be just necessarily this, because if we did a circle, 2 circles, and we did half, and then we did a half, and there's our fourths, we can figure out, even just with this kind of picture, that a half equals the same thing as the 1, 2, 2/4. All right, how many eighths are in 1/2? So if I even take that further and make those into eighths, now we have 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, or if we go back up and look up here, 1, 2, 3, 4 eighths equals 1/2. It says, what are two fractions that are equal to 1/2? We can make an equivalency chain. We can say 1/2 equals 2/4, which equals 4/8. It says, how many eighths are in 1/4? So if we look back into our fourth here, and we just mark off the rest of it so we can see, you can see that we have 2 1/8 and then 2/8. All right, so you're starting to remember this, my friends, about equivalence? All right, so we could continue on with looking at similar things. So I'm going to talk to my puzzled penguin here. It says, today my teacher asked me to name a fraction that is equivalent to 1/2. I wrote 4/6 equals 1/2. Is my answer correct? If not, please correct my work and tell me what I did wrong. Your friend, Puzzled Penguin. All right, so let's look, and he said 4/6 equals 1/2. So here's our fraction number line. So we're going to try this, and then we're going to try it with the strips. So if we have, it says he was trying to do 1/2. So here's our 1/2. And if we're going to use our line, you could use a piece of paper, you could use a pen, you could use a pencil, you could use a ruler. All of those things are fine. I'm going to use my pen for the moment. And so I'm going to sort of draw kind of like my line, invisible line, down from the 1/2. It's 1/2, 2/4, and then here's my sixths. So how many sixths are really equal to 1/2? Well, if I draw up the line there, 1/2, 4/6 is going to be more than 1/2. So if I was writing an answer to Puzzle Penguins, I'd tell him no, he's not correct, because 3/6 equals 1/2, and 4/6 is more than that 1/2. But that 4/8 equals 1/2. I could even go that extra mile there and tell him that. So if I was also using the fraction strips, fraction bars, I could look at, here's my half, so I'm going to cover up the rest of it, and then I'm going to go down to my sixths. Here it is, 1/6, 2/6, 3/6 equals my 1/2. There's my 4/6, definitely more than 1/2 there. All right, going to do my last page here. You might remember these number lines. We are not going to do these ones, but thinking about that, if you were going to do that, you know, if you were making halves, you want to break it into 2 sections. If you're making thirds, you make it into 3, 1, 2, 3 equal sections. And that this is the same thing as 2 halves. This is 1/2, 1/3, 2/3, and then 3/3. 3/3 equals 1. So don't forget that when a number is over itself, it equals 1. It will be an equivalent of that. So this is write an equivalent change with fractions that equal 2 halves. So here's 2 halves equals, well, 2 halves equals 3/3. It equals 4/4. It would equal, now think about the sixths. It would be 6/6. And you can probably figure out what the last one is going to be. Can you figure it out? Yes, it's going to be 8/8. Very nice. So here it says, why are the fractions in the equivalence for 2 halves equal? Well, what our answer would be is that if 2 halves equals 1, 3 halves equals 1, 4 halves equals 1, 6/6 equals 4/4, 6/6, and 8/8 all represent one whole. And so they are all equal. What fractions, and it says fractions that equal 1/2. So if we make 1/2, we look for the fractions that go with that. Again, I can use my fraction strips. Here's my half, so equals 2/4. Keep going down, 3/6. Keep going down, equals 4/8. 9ths doesn't, because there's no nice even break there. 5/10, and even 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6/12. Man, I just cannot talk today. I'm so sorry, friends. Okay. Oh, you can't see that page. Wow, I am not doing well. Here you go. It's hard to show you both at the same time, I guess. That's my problem. Okay. Last thing, it says what fractions that are fractions that equal 1/3. So this time I'm going to use the number line. Maybe if I put things side to side a little bit. So I have 1/3 equals. I'm going to leave that one there. So find a third, and then I'm going to again lay that. Probably the best thing is a ruler, but anything straight, and you can see what will equal there. So 1/3, and then 2/6. Follow down just to find the lines. Now 3/10 is close, but if I just go, ooh, not quite, right? But, ooh, 4/12. There we go. And then what fractions equal 2/3? So up to this point, we've just been choosing one of these sections, but now we're going to find 2/3. So on here, there's my 1/3, 2/3, and 3/3. So I'm going to line up my pen along here. And you'll notice that we have 2/3 equals 4/6. Which also equals 9. Nope, wait, 2/3. Nope, gotta have my line up right, huh? There we go. 2/3 is 8/12. And if you look up here, 1/3, did you notice that 2/3 is twice of the size of 1/3? 4/6 is twice the size of 2/6. and 8/12 is twice the size of 4/12. So that makes perfect sense. These are twice as big as that one, and this is twice as big as that one. Okay, so today you're going to go and do the fraction review. Again, our learning targets today are being able to use number lines and fraction bars. They're going to give us, you're going to have some of those options to help you. You can also draw yourself some pictures, and you're going to be able to find equivalent fractions and write an equivalent chain. Remember, chain is showing that there is more than one fraction that equals the first one. All right, my friends, go forth, do your work, make sure you turn it in so I can see your good score.